Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Quarry After Show here on AFTERBUZZ TV. We're discussing Season 1, Episode 2, Figure 4. That's right, so much to talk about as Quarry gets in over his head once more. Or maybe not. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. Good old Quarry, the After Show here on AFTERBUZZ TV. We have Lacretia Lyon.
Hey guys, I'm Lacretia Lyon, so you can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one.
That's right, as long as you don't lie to anyone.
I know, this is totally not my song.
And we have Courtney Henderson. Welcome, Courtney.
Hello, thank you, Phil. Good to have you tonight.
That's right, you guys held it down, Episode 1. If you're just joining us, definitely check out that episode. Or not. You know, or start here.
Check it out. Come on.
Check it out. You guys held it down, so I appreciate it. I was very sad to miss it, but unfortunately, life circumstances were as such.
Absolutely.
But anyway, Episode 2. Real quick, overall thoughts. I want to get your guys' thoughts on how the season's already progressing in this episode.
To me, I love the character of Buddy. And I love that, you know, and they use some really bad language, but he is a gay guy, especially coming out in the 70s. I like how stuff is used that nowadays is no big deal. And to me, the fact that he was such a badass, too, was cool.
Listen, I think the gays can be badass, too. I think that's what we learned.
I know, we're like,
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's why they keep calling him out. I'm like, man, but he bashed your head in, man.
He did, and it was quite graphic, and so obviously we'll talk very much at length about the warehouse scene. And for you, Courtney?
Mine, two things. Wholly graphic. Was not expecting that, which I guess I should have based on the nails going into the bat last episode. And then also, I continue to love the use of the music. I don't even know a lot of the songs, which is also exciting for me. I love music, but just... It's very strategic, like, and the lines and the lyrics in the songs that they chose are clearly intentional because of the parts of the songs you hear, and then, you know, when it's just quietly in the background and you can't really make sense of what it is specifically.
Yeah, what I love most about this show so far is the broker and how kind of, you know, their viewpoint of the world, the way Quarry got his name, I thought was such a hard-hitting point. And then tonight we got... You know what makes us miserable? The expectation that the world is something else other than what it is. And I'm like, that's so sad.
Yeah.
And if that's your view, you know, and that seems to be the logic of this world. And so I'm kind of in it. I love it. Mm-hmm. But let's start. They use the metaphor of the tapes, not even a metaphor, just a motif, really, more so than a metaphor, and kind of the past and the present. And, you know, it was very sad to hear. You know, and you kind of think about these things like we have Skype now and on these various things, but the fact that they could even get tapes to, let's say, the battlefield, and you know, and Joni's kind of spilling out her heart for whatever it is. I thought it was good use of that, and obviously, it still shows that they love each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and as you say, the broker, he brings that up. He's like, even after what she did, you still love her, and you see, just like with Joni later listening. She still loves him too, even though she pretty much knows he's killed Cliff and all this dark stuff. But their love is still there. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, but let me ask you the like I know I'm sure you guys talked about it in episode 1, but like even now seeing it more, do you guys kind of have an understanding of why she would have done what she did? Because in some sense, if she had done it just to like buy time until he's gone, then that's bad, but at least like, okay, maybe he never finds out about it, and now you're with the man that you're supposed to love.
So as somebody dating somebody in the military and having done long distance, because he lives in Florida currently and then of course goes overseas at times, I don't want to say yes. I think it's okay, obviously, but as somebody who's been in that situation where you miss that person and like there's just those nights where you just want somebody just like to hold you or give you a hug because of what you're going through, I do understand where that loneliness comes from and where just the need for the physical can come from, even though it may not be anything more. That, you know, the love is still very real for that person that you are sending these love tapes to, but cheating is still cheating, so
Yes.
Yeah, as I say, I understand her point of view. He's been gone a while. She's lonely, but I don't agree with it. And to me, if it was just like, needing a warm body in your bed, I think I would have maybe cared a little bit more from Joni's perspective, but it was the tape. I was like, she had me at least be sympathetic until the tape with Cliff. And I'm like, yeah, you killed it there. Honey.
That was like your thing with your husband, and then now you've got that with Cliff. And for me, I would say what kind of killed it was when Cliff comes to her that night and she's like, no, I didn't call you. She still has sex with him.
Yeah.
Like, now that her husband's home. Like, for me, that's when I was like, okay, like, I understand, but it's like, your husband's home now. Like, he fought, he survived, he's back. You don't know where he is or when he's coming home, and you're going to risk it. And then the tape. Like,
yeah.
I want to like Joni, but I'm having a really hard time at this point.
Well, what's interesting, at the same time, what I like about it is that there's secrets that he's keeping from her as well.
True.
So it's one of those age-old proverbs, like you can't build something on lies.
No.
Which is what the song's about. And I love that. Last time, I don't know about you guys, but I was still left wondering. I was like, wait, they're staring at each other. No one wants to say anything. Like, they both, and he's obviously playing the power play, but she's like, wait, does he know? Does he not? And as soon as he's playing that song, she's like, yep, he knows.
And I wrote down, I said, sometimes it's what isn't said, because I feel like the show's doing a really good job using the space between the words. Because in that opening scene, we hear him listening to the tapes, and then we see her discover, and she knows, it's the tapes that she sent him, and he walks up on her, and, like, he doesn't say anything to her. No. He just kind of walks away, and so it's just like, those moments are so powerful with nothing being said.
And what I loved about the song, too, obviously it's Don't Lie to Me, and it resembles the cheating and whatnot, but also just the fact that she lied about his music, right? He was looking for that album, and then he goes out and gets that album.
It's like a little victory. I loved that.
So obviously set up very, very nicely. But in terms of Cliff, now obviously this opens up things even further. Because now she's being questioned by the police about it. They're driving to this house. And it's just one of those things, like, at that point when you're driving, I would have just been, like, gone up and been like, what's going on here? Now, because of the fact that she turned around.
Yes! Or just, like, keep driving through the street. I mean, unless I didn't see if it was completely blocked off, like, they couldn't have gone straight, so that's why they turned around. But I thought turning around was about the most obvious, worst thing you could possibly do if you're trying not to bring attention to yourselves.
Yeah, because back then technology was different, so they might have questioned her a little bit. Oh, they carpooled together. Well, why were they not here? But the fact that they were there and then turned around is like, okay, that's suspicious, guys. Yeah. Like, they're like, who are these people? And then that's when they start questioning if they saw it.
I gotta jokingly say, the world's shittiest friend award goes to the woman that was driving because she didn't listen to Joni, number one. Second, if I was turned the other way, so you're the person that's being seen, not Joni.
Yeah.
We got like an extra second of Joni because of that U-turn. And whatnot. So... And here's the thing, like, the fact that she keeps these tapes at work.
Right?
Who does this? These are the world's worst ideas, ladies. Or guys.
Seriously. Yeah. Case in point, now she's got, like, a bloody hand from trying to, like, get the one tape that apparently she cares about not being discovered.
Why was it, like, it was locked away? I
think that was his desk.
Oh.
I think that was Cliff's desk.
Got it.
Yeah, that's what I thought, is that's why she was so frantic, and then, like, oh god, they're gonna find this.
And I have to say, I wrote down, it was the tape said, like, XX. And so I, like, kind of was like, well, maybe in the 70s they hadn't gotten to XXX yet. Just like
I've seen the Deep Throat documentary they had. She was just trying to be like, oh, it's just kisses. Obviously it wasn't.
Right.
When do you think she, like, started suspecting, well, I keep calling him Quarry, but Matt.
You can call him Quarry.
Yeah.
I'll call,
Yeah. The show does.
Indeed. Well, like when she's being questioned by them, and they say to her, of course they always say, like, these are standard questions. It's
right.
like, No, they're not. Of course they're not. But do you think she had an inkling before that, or this was like, oh shoot, I know exactly what's going on?
I felt that she had a little bit, especially when he had the record. But the thing is, she probably thought he'd just beat him up, and until she knows he's dead, and of course they have, you know, the car, the cops. She probably thinks something's up, but until she had confirmation that he died, it was like, oh yeah, he did it.
See, I want to think that she didn't. I mean, I think she did have an idea that he's capable of this. But like you, I don't think until she got to work and was being questioned that she knew he was dead for sure. And then, I mean, I think she has to think that Quarry did it, at least in part because the record. You know, he comes back with the record, but you know, it looks like an accident, so I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of doubt in her mind where it's like, well, maybe he beat him up and then he was getting high, you know, and it just was kind of a really bad night, but not necessarily that Quarry killed him. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yes, I think she'll start to suspect it a little bit more and more as time goes on, but yeah, I think right now it's more of a question, and you know, it's doubtful, and until she can confront him, she's not going to really know. But also, too, I wonder, because he got killed for a reason, right? It wasn't just that Quarry was upset with him, and so I wonder how much she's knowledgeable of that side of things.
Yeah, to me, as loving as they are and how close they are, to me at this point, if she does think he killed him, which I believe she does, she thinks it's just over jealousy, not this whole, she doesn't know he's being hired to kill, you know, that's how he's making money because he can't get a job. But I feel like that will be the thread that starts to pull. And she'll start to figure out more, because especially when more people, like, you know, his friend was killed, so far, not that suspicious. But the more and more people around them that start dying, I think, because she's not an idiot. I mean, despite her having that tape at work. Yeah.
Oh, it was technically him.
Yeah.
I fear that there's another tape that actually has something.
Oh,
Even just like,
Because there were a lot of tapes in that
Yep.
box or whatever that she pulled, the XX one.
yeah, and she only went for that specific one. I feel like there's one where he's professing his love to her, and you know, he never sent it to her or something, and they're gonna be like, what is this?
So I had another thing, since we're talking about it. When she goes and freaks out, and she's like shaking and crying after she's being questioned, I maybe it's just me, but like she kind of grabs her stomach, and I know she was like freaking out and like probably just like sick because of the reality of him being dead and everything, but I'm kind of like, is she gonna be pregnant?
In a soap world, that would be true, and that may be where they're going. But I mean, I don't follow.
like,
I think that's so cliche, though.
I know.
Yeah.
See, and that's kind of, I thought it, and I was like, kind of like, I hope not, just for that reason.
It'll be a who's the daddy story.
Yeah, I don't feel like going there just yet.
I don't think
Alright.
that that's the direction the show would want to
Well,
take
and I
either.
don't-
But
I mean, she's obviously a huge part of the show, but I feel like that would kind of take the plot line away from Quarry and the broker and kind of the main plot line that we're still just getting started with 2 episodes in.
Yeah, I mean, until he said that line of, you know, the fact that, you know, you obviously still love her despite all of this, I was like, Joni could have been dead at any moment. And
Yeah.
I you know, this far into it, I don't think it didn't have that weight until that line.
Yeah.
Ultimately. But speaking of people cheating, our good old Gwen. You know, two wrongs don't make a right.
This is very true.
So I mean, it's very. So let me ask you this: how do you guys root for Quarry if he's doing these types of things?
to me, it's just like, yes, 2 wrongs don't make a right, but I could understand his point of view there. But I feel like it might be a one-time thing. I don't know how long Gwen is stated to be here. And to me, the strip club scene seemed pretty finite. Like, it was kind of funny to me. Like, they're really helpful strippers. It's like, oh, I'm really
Tell me
helping this
more.
guy out. No. And so, yeah, it was kind of a cute scene. But I'm like, to me, it felt finite. And I think that's why I can still root for Quarry. But if it's not, he's just as bad as she is. Because, I mean, he's just killing people to keep the family afloat and pay off his friend's debt. I mean, Not a bad guy.
I mean, I kind of feel like he doesn't have another choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you always have a choice, but you kind of don't always have a
because
choice.
he tried to get a job, but the way that Vietnam veterans were treated at that time, and that's the sort of thing is he feels like this is all he can do. So it's easy to side with someone like that. But yeah, we'll just see where he goes.
For me, honestly, the thing that I was thinking about during the whole strip club scene was, aside from is she really married or not, because she says she's not, but it's kind of like, are you or aren't you? Because either way it can be a line, because you want to cheat on your husband, or you're really single and you finally met somebody that maybe you're actually interested in. But it was like, for somebody that's like, basically 30 grand in the hole with no real job either, you sure are spending a lot of money, with the drink. Anyway, that was kind of like...
Well, going back to your point, Lacretia, I was thinking about, he does say that line in the first episode of like, by doing this, we're proving them right.
Yeah.
And at this point, I mean, I don't know how much guilt he actually still has, especially the fact that he is, going to these strip clubs, drinking a crap ton of booze. I do think he's just kind of succumbed to what the broker wants him to be.
Which we see later.
Yeah. But in some sense, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is he's not really fighting it.
No, yeah, exactly. Because the scene that came to mind, you saying that, is when he says something about coming on board, and the broker's like, "Oh,
I didn't realize you were." Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where he didn't fight or correct him and say, "Oh no, I'm not on board. I'm just
I'm just here to do this job."
He didn't say anything, so it's kind of like, well, I mean, in one episode he's down $5 grand. That's a lot of money. That's a whole year's pay as a swim coach. So. It was a pretty productive,
Pretty productive
time.
week.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And let me ask you, I mean, how much, obviously he cares about Arthur and whatnot, but eventually, like, when is that going to stop being just a reason? You know what I mean? Like, that's his motive, and he says he is, but I don't quite fully believe him.
Yeah.
I feel that, much like soldiers in general, is like he needs a purpose. And that's why he was, not just, money, but it's a purpose. And while he didn't want to do this, doesn't want to be a killer, just like with a lot of people, you realize that's what you're good at. And he just sort of has this defeatist attitude about, well, I guess this is where I'm supposed to be. And it's somewhat understandable, but I feel like he doesn't enjoy it. He's like a robot, just doing what he needs to do to get by.
Yeah.
And that's why he's drinking, he's self-medicating, which is great to see because, back then it was like shell shock and they had all these other terms, but we know it as PTSD, like when he has the flashbacks. That's what I really like to see because you're like, this guy clearly isn't okay.
And nobody's really acknowledging that because they don't know what we know now. Well, it's interesting because when they talked about the purpose, because of the encounters and him being Quarry going to Ruth and seeing the kids and he's trying to be discreet about asking about do you have any new nice things or what's the deal. I kind of feel like the money might be out there somewhere and he's gonna have to find like it's hidden somewhere stashed away and that he eventually finds it or that maybe on his own time. I don't know, I guess I thought at that point that might become more of the plot line to where then it's like, okay, very quickly now he's paid off the debt but he's not walking away. That's when you see that, like you said, that choice now to just stay a part of it. And to your point with the whole purpose, I kind of felt like that might be something where taking care of Ruth and her kids now becomes somewhat of his purpose until, while he's so lost, especially with whatever's going on with Joni.
Got it. Well, I have a theory about the money, so remind me.
Okay.
But speaking of money, just in general, Quarry, you know what? I mean, I guess it's the 1970s, and God, if they only had DraftKings back then, he could have made some money and had fun doing it instead of having to do it all the worst ways. DraftKings.com, for those of you who don't know, it's a fantasy sports site in this fantasy football in particular. We know football's back. That's right. The LA Rams just had their home opener.
Yes.
And it wasn't as good as the Cowboys today.
Ah, well, okay. Well, there you go. That's what's so
hard.
fun. You can root for anybody who you want, and but with fantasy sports, you get to pick who you want. And on DraftKings, one of the biggest things about fantasy that I hate is you're locked in to a whole season, and then after 1 week, you're like, oh, why did I pick these players?
Seriously.
They get injured.
Absolutely. So with this, there's no long season commitments. You play whenever you want with the players that you want. You draft your team. You start up new rivalries, old rivalries,
Or new ones.
Or new
we
ones.
can have a new rivalry.
That's right. Friends, family, coworkers, whoever. Find out who the superior GM is. All you have to do is go to DraftKings.com. There's something there for everyone. And guess what? If you enter now, you get to win up to $1 million in prizes. So don't wait. Go to DraftKings.com now and choose your players for this weekend's contest. Enter promo code BUZZ, that's BUZZ, and play for free with your first deposit. That's promo code BUZZ to play for free and win your share of over $1 million in total prizes this weekend. Only at DraftKings.com. Eligibility and restrictions may apply. See website for details. Quarry should definitely check this out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and last week it was like $100,000. So now that we're up to $1 million,
We're just getting more
we
prizes.
should really check this out.
Things are getting better.
I know,
Good
hockey
times.
season's about to start. It is almost October.
Exactly.
That's right. Definitely check them out.
So you have a theory about the money?
Yes, I do have a theory about the money. I think I think the broker is tied in too deeply into this. I think he's got Suggs in this, and I also think he has the money, and now he's just playing everyone.
Oh.
I believe that too, because he keeps mentioning it, and that's a lot of money for him to really not be freaking out and just sort of playing Corey like he is. It's like he has that money.
So it's funny that you say that, because I had not thought that, but that goes perfectly in line with, I felt like the broker most likely set up Buddy when he brought Corey's backup to pick up the guns. Like, I thought that was a broker setup.
Broker move. He's testing. I mean,
I could see that, yeah.
That was my thought. All the money aside, because he wants like the money and the guns.
what do you guys think the ultimate purpose and goal of the broker is?
I think he is just a crap stirrer. I think that this is fun to him, and and he's also like, oh, I know what a great pool of people to get to do things is these Vietnam vets who can't get a job. So he's someone who, he's almost like a producer, and he's like, like on Unreal about, he's like, ooh, I can make stuff happen. Let's see what goes here.
For me, I think he's done something bad, and he needs to basically purge a lot of these people away. So they, because too many people know the truth, perhaps about him, and if they all just kind of squabble within each other, whoever ends up being alive, it's
Right.
still a victory for him.
Right. It's
like
collateral damage if they're gone, and if not, that's
Yeah.
fine too. See, I'm kind of thinking that maybe he kind of got into this almost as like a revenge. Maybe somebody hurt somebody he loved, and in maybe a similar fashion where the broker did something wrong or sketchy, and instead of killing him, they killed a loved one. And so this whole thing is like a very roundabout, inefficient way of trying to get whoever that was.
I think the broker's a lot more efficient, though. I think he is. I think he's proven, and he's so tactical.
That's true. He's very manipulative.
Yeah.
Very manipulative.
And he doesn't have an emotion whatsoever. But speaking of which, let's talk about the warehouse scene, because that's a big scene, very gruesome.
Yes. I loved it.
When the episode started, there's every single thing listed, like violence, nudity, gruesomeness, like everything you can imagine in terms
Which
of
means it's going to be a
forewarning.
good show. Yeah.
I had to look away. There were a few times I had to look away.
And it started for me back at the bar, like when him and JD were talking, you could sense that there was going to be tension, and it wasn't going to be good. Like, and especially when you say, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's meet at the old place. Something's broken.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's, what do you think, Buddy? Why did he want a better deal? Like I was having a hard time deciding which price was actually like the fair price. Like, who was really trying to screw who here? with the 33 versus the 38?
That is a good question.
Because I felt like it was Buddy. Like, it should be 38, and Buddy was trying to push him because he's the client, so it's like, yeah, I can go to anybody and get this crap.
I think it's that, and I also do think it comes down to the gay thing in terms of, I think he was being pushed a little bit in that regard, and I think I think internally he wants a sense of power. You know, I mean, there's a lot of, you got to consider this, like, there's always a lot of male ego in many situations, but especially when it comes to, like, violence and guns.
Amped up.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, and I felt like when he was basically gay bashing Buddy's like, I'm going to show him. I liked that, though. It's like, and that's what I felt it was. He's like, no, I'll 33.
So 38 would be the normal price, but Buddy was just kind of like, I'm going to push him around a little bit and show him kind of who's boss, because...
I think 35, I think.
It's like
somewhere in the middle.
We could have negotiated, but no.
But Buddy was not doing that.
No.
He was making a point very clearly.
Yeah, they were laying him out on the
that.
table. But the funny thing about JD is I recognized him as Killface from Devious Maids. And so, I mean, as funny as the name sounds, it was like a joke sort of character in prison, like that he really just was like really into the soap actor that was in there with him, which was really funny to see him in this. I mean, he was still kind of funny, but then, Buddy brings his bat back.
Yeah.
Ooh. That was, and just because, what I like about Buddy too is, as the name implies, he's buddying up to Quarry. Mm-hmm. And I think he sees a lot of Quarry in himself. Mm-hmm. And whereas Quarry, it almost sounds like I'm calling him Quarry. I'm just gonna call him Mac.
They make the mistake later. Oh, Quarry.
Yeah.
Quarry.
I'm just gonna call him Mac. But in some way, where Mac is sort of going down a deep dark path, Buddy has sort of come to accept it in some sort of way and can be jovial about it, believe it or not.
Which is so cool, because in one of the early scenes we see them sitting in the bar and it's like, I don't want to be your friend, and then he's kind of, well, where are you going? So to then now see them kind of into the beginning of almost like a forced friendship because they've been through this thing together now. And I think Mac needs somebody that kind of, in a weird way, gives him a sense of stability. Which sounds crazy, I feel like.
Especially like whether it's, most military brand, like you got to have a level of trust, and that's where I think that's how respect is measured in terms of trust. And now that he doesn't have Arthur, this is his guy. This is who he needs.
Yeah.
It's his buddy.
But they had to earn it. Yeah. And now through this interaction and this whole encounter, at the pickup drop off, whatever you want to call it, they've kind of made that bond now where it's like, okay, you really do have my back, I really do have yours. Yeah. Like, you're my new partner.
Mac has some great reflexes because I don't think he was expecting Buddy to just lunge.
No.
And as soon as he did, you got to make that move. And he did.
Yeah, and I think that's why they're seeing he's more and more useful, because he is great with tactics. Mm-hmm. And I did love how, like, we see Buddy in the first episode making that bat with the nails in it. I'm like, a la Lucille from Walking Dead. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. And I couldn't believe that they brought it up that quickly. Like, the next episode, it's like, I'm going to bash this guy's face in with it. Because he went to the car to get it. It seemed like he's like, nah, I got something better.
Oh. Yeah. That's when I had to look away. And I didn't even remember the nails until he's walking away after Mac comes back. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, it was the nail bat. Of course it was the nail bat. Oh, like, look away again.
Hey, listen, if you're going to put nails in your bat, you better try to use that bat.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't just let that sit around.
Absolutely. Clearly. So obviously a very powerful scene and whatnot. But then they come back, and in terms of we end on the tapes again, right? And that's kind of what I love about the juxtaposition of it. It's the old and the new. And here is Suggs, good old Kurt Yeager, walking up to the house, and as she's listening to Mac, and so the old and the new collide. What do you think is going to happen there? And this is why in particular I do think that he is in the pocket of the broker, is because I don't think he what business does he have going to her house this quickly? Quickly.
Yeah, and especially when the broker had mentioned her and asking if she was alone tonight and stuff like that. He's hinting at, and Mac even says, "You touch her,
You lured me here." Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like they're going to use her, and it may be that Suggs tries to seduce her, because I don't think it's going to be like a full-on kidnapping or something yet. I feel that maybe he's going to feel out the situation and decide what to do with Joni, and that's why he's there.
Okay. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. It's so hard because.
Well, I think that you guys want to just move into predictions, because
I want to talk really quick.
Yes.
When he goes to his dad's house.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for reminding me. Yes. Absolutely.
Susan's a biatch.
Oh yeah, I mean,
on steroids.
I could tell that there was obviously some issue when he saw his dad in the first episode with with Susan, and it's like, okay, so obviously his dad gets remarried and I see the situation a lot. The step parent or whatever is put together, doesn't like the especially when it's older children.
Well, I felt like it's only because of the war thing.
Yeah,
like that's why they're kind of keeping their distance.
I think it's the chicken and the eggs. You know what I mean? It's like, well, do they hate him because they always hated him, or as you said, yeah, I think it is the Vietnam thing.
Yeah, I feel like that is some of it, but I feel like there's extra substance there that maybe something happened before he left the war, because she, remarked on the 10 years. And that's what they talk about. And you see how she is with him. And he's, more blue collar. She's this white collar put together woman. So I think that's
Don't
the
you
thing.
have housemaids to do
I
that?
know.
It's a figure of speech.
Yes.
Well, and I love how she went and called. And I was like, you could tell she was like kind of trying to be quiet. But obviously you're a half a room or a room away. So what am I supposed to do? Talk to him? Yeah.
This dude just fought for our country, sort of.
Well, that's I can't wait to fully explore why he went the second time. The first time, we know he got drafted, but the second time, there's something there.
Yeah, and I feel that leads to what happened with Arthur and their situation with the broker. There's something sinister. I mean, and as I say, this keeps making me want to watch Full Metal Jacket again. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, back to Susan in the house, knowing because there's that strained relationship, whether it's old or newer, he feels like he's in really deep if he's going to his dad for financial help.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so I really felt for him. It's like everything is going wrong, and so much so that you have to go to your dad, who clearly doesn't want anything to do with you, from what we know so far. Why? Clearly I think we're going to find out, but I'll be interested to see if there's any sort of, if his dad in any way reaches out to him, or if he ends up going back again, for money or, whatever, because he tells Susan it's a financial reason. Of course it is, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I almost wonder if they've done this dance before with, him coming for money, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think, I don't know if the house that they got, I think the father had a hand in. I don't think you just get a house like that.
No.
Not that it's the world's best house, but it's a decent house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a pool. Come on.
I know.
Yeah, right.
That he built with his bare hands, but still, it had a pool.
Yeah. So I think, there's a history of money given and put into things. But at least with the house, it didn't go to waste. Like, you now have a house.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree. Any other stray observations that you guys want to touch upon before we move into predictions?
There was that bit with Ruth and the guy that came into the diner to talk to her. And that was, to me, it's like, where are they going with this? Because I feel like she's being investigated, too, about the supposed money. But is this guy much like Quarry and Buddy and just sort of like a pawn? Or does this even have something to do, maybe not even the $30,000? Just Arthur did something else. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I'm very curious who he is.
Yeah, and to me, as bad as Quarry is, I think Arthur was way worse.
Oh yeah, because he was like, hell yeah, I'm doing this, and nothing, in his mind, even though he has the wife, the kids, and his wife was so excited to see him.
So he gets this $30,000, Arthur, and he doesn't all of a sudden like do something at home. Maybe that guy does have something to make. Maybe he was in trouble for money elsewhere, and that was kind of catching him up or keeping him in check or whatever with that guy that we see at the time. I mean, I don't know, but
I think we're gonna find out.
Ooh.
The ghost of Arthur is well and alive.
Yeah, I was like, maybe he used DraftKings back in the day and got into some deep debt.
All right. Well, why don't we head into predictions for episode 3?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
This is a more longer season term prediction, but they keep using that key imagery with Joni, at least what very likely looks like Joni, and she's drowning in water. And I think that's very telling. I think, you know, to I forget which one of you guys said it, but I think she's going to be used as a pawn.
Yeah, I feel that that's exactly why Suggs was there. Is they're trying to assess Joni and how to use her, because they do know that Quarry does love her despite what she did, and I feel like that's part of the whole test. Because you know there were so many parts of that. To kill Cliff, is it just because that's what men do, get revenge, or is it because he really loves her? They're really looking at this as like a long-term plan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'll say, because of the little preview for next week, we see Quarry pick up the phone. I was kind of thinking more along the lines that maybe she is kidnapped, and that's where the broker's telling her, like, you don't even know who your husband is. Mm-hmm. Like, like, that. What do you think you're doing here? Like, this is kind of has to do with him. And it is kind of, like you said, a test of, like, how much does he love her in order to kind of commit to really going on board to save her and have somewhat of a quote-unquote normal life outside of, killing people for money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could play into it. I'm very interested to see how the police kind of continue on in this investigation, because one of our guys is very smart. He's looking at the, and immediately as soon as the light comes on, he's like, turns off the light, and that's it. So I'm very curious about that storyline. I think we'll see a lot more of that as well. I'm just excited. For those of you who have read the books, I would love your input on it and how it's kind of tracking. There's quite a bit of books. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 books already written.
Oh, wow.
Well, actually, the Quarry in the Black, that's coming out soon. Oh. It's not quite out yet, but you can expect
guaranteed.
That. I mean, this stuff, since 1976, this book series has been about. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And it'd be really cool to kind of track it from that time to what it is now. So if you guys are fans of the book series as well, love to get your perspective on that stuff. And I'll try to do at least a little bit more research into it, and maybe we'll kind of do some special segments on each of the books. I think that could be cool.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No.
Yeah, I think I'm good. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's about it. So in the meantime, where can people follow you?
Guys, since I'm Lacretia Lyon, you can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one.
And of course, you can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Cohen, COUHEN.
That's right, and follow us here at AfterBuzz TV, and we'll be back next Sunday night to talk episode 3, and of course the rest of the season as it happens. So stay tuned, tell a friend, please rate and comment. We love interacting with you guys. After all, we just kind of talk about it, but it's a community. Without you guys, there is no us. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.